You're in the kitchen.
Welcome to another edition of Kitchen Konversations. No matter how long you've been playing pickleball, we all have something in common. We were all once new to this game. You might have started playing in your neighborhood or at a club. You might be a beginner or you might have dreams of going pro. But no matter how long you've been playing, you know just how addictive this game can be. We hear it all the time. It's epitomized in the phrase, just one more game. We don't want to stop playing. This game grabs you. You want to play more and you want to play better. And that desire leads you to participate in clinics or take lessons and then open play and rec games, ladders, leagues, and eventually you put your game to the test by playing in a tournament. Pickleball tournaments are events. They're milestones in your pickleball journey. These tournaments are big deals. Thousands of people playing side by side, amateurs and professionals. It's this proximity that makes this sport so unique. It won't be like this forever, but at the moment, it's special. But special doesn't make it perfect. There are issues in whether it's scheduling, officiating, or what we hear most often, a fair level of play. It's why we have ratings, to measure our ability and ensure that we're playing against players with similar skill sets. But the rating systems in place are not dynamic enough to ensure competitive play at tournaments stays competitive. Luckily, there's a solution. The Dynamic Universal Pickleball Ratings, DUPR, has taken the best ratings constructs in other sports and along with some of the best statisticians created a better way to rate our game. We are fortunate to have the founder of DUPR, Steve Kuhn, and professional pickleball player and DUPR's head of club relations, Lee Whitwell, to have an honest conversation about ratings, tournament play, and how we can make pickleball a more fair and competitive sport moving forward. All right, Steve Kuhn, Lee Whitwell, thank you for joining us to talk a bit about the rating systems, tournaments, and how we can make the experience better. Steve, you are the owner and founder of DUPR and Major League Pickleball and Dreamland in Dripping Springs, Texas. Lee Whitwell, you work with DUPR. You are the reigning MVP of MLP, and you are one of the best female pros out there, one of the best pros out there. I shouldn't even say that.
Thank you.
Welcome, guys, and thanks for joining us. Steve, I want to jump in. How did DUPR come about? Where did you have the idea to come up with a better rating system?
So, as I've told people, I became obsessed with pickleball 6 years ago. My nephew told me about this quote unquote new sport, pickleball, and he said, you should try it. I love tennis. I love table tennis. So give us a shot. And I Googled places to play pickleball, Austin, Texas, found the Bethany Church on a Wednesday night. And it was love at first sight. I was all in. I remember literally telling people the next day that pickleball was going to go crazy. That the analogy I made was pickleball is to tennis what Topgolf is to golf. And what I meant by that is Topgolf took a sport that's difficult and challenging and expensive, sometimes hard to access, and they democratized it and gamified it and made it fun for a wider range of people to play. That's what pickleball does, in my view, relative to tennis. And I told people back then that someday more people in America would play pickleball than any other sport. More people would play pickleball than tennis or any other sport. And I remember the reaction from a lot of folks. At the time, I was on the board of Andy Roddick's foundation, it's his charity foundation. And I told Andy that idea. And in the politest, kindest way possible, he said, "Steve, you're an idiot." That was his response to that. But tennis is still ahead. But I still think my belief that pickleball will someday be the most played sport in America is valid. I talk about 40 by 30, 40 million players by 2030, and that's if the sport grows at a little over 25% a year. When I talk to pickleball people about that, and I go, "There's 4 of you over there. How many people did you introduce to pickleball this year?" And each one of them says like 10. Yeah. If only one of them said 1, we should be at 25% a year. I think we're going to be there. So my obsession is helping the sport get to that 40 by 30. Well, a part of that is having an accurate rating system. And people really have a hard time knowing exactly how good they are. And if you've ever run a league or a clinic and you say it's a 4.0 day, and there are players that show up that are of varying qualities. There are people who are 5.0s that show up, and there are people who are 3.0s that show up. And that's not always a great experience for everybody. And no one wants to be the person who says, hey, you don't belong here. you need an objective rating system that allows you to do that without being a jerk. I think that makes the sport better. I think people will have better experiences in tournaments and recreational play, being able to find players that are truly at their right level. And it helps you measure how good you're doing. You can know whether you're improving or not. You have a way of doing that. So all those things are what inspired me to want to start DUPR.
So what was wrong with the existing system the way we have it? A UTPR, for instance, I signed up for my first tournament. I analyzed myself. I said I was a 3.5. I really had just begun playing. I didn't really know what a 3.5 meant. But that's what I chose because I think someone told me to do that. And I'm still a 3.5 according to UTPR. That seems to be an issue. And let me just break down UTPR. For those that aren't aware, UTPR is the USA Pickleball rating system, but currently it only rates you for sanctioned events. So if you're playing in non-sanctioned events, whether that be a tournament in your local community that's not sanctioned by USA Pickleball, or even a PPA event, which all of them are not sanctioned by USA Pickleball, they don't count towards your UTPR, but that's the rating that gets used when you sign up for a tournament. Now I want to say they've gone towards WPR, the World Pickleball Ranking, which now ingests data that is non-sanctioned event tournaments as well. But DUPR goes beyond that. Is that right?
We want results from as many different places that we can get them. If anybody is running a league or a tournament and they want to interface with us and get our ability to enter their results into DUPR, we will help them do that, and we'll do that. That's for free. We want all the results we can possibly get. I think the challenge in the past was, I think less at the time we started DUPR, less than 1% of people who played pickleball had ever played a rated match. It's just there are not enough sanctioned events, and we wanted to make sure that people could play in all kinds of different circumstances, whether it's in tournaments, sanctioned tournaments, unsanctioned tournaments, leagues, whatever they're playing. And by the way, they could even play a match at the public park and put the results in DUPR on our app for free. It really opened up the ability for people to have an accurate rating. So that was, if you ever were a member of a tennis club, when they put the ladder up at the tennis club, everybody starts to get a little bit more serious. Everybody wants to play more. Everybody wants to get more lessons. It really makes people want to have a sense of where they are and whether they're improving or not. And when you put that ladder up at the tennis club, the tennis pros get more business and there's more play on the courts. That's what DUPR is. Essentially, it's that ladder for pickleball. It lets you measure where you are. It helps you find opponents that are roughly at the right level. And it makes that easier for more people to be able to do that.
Right. And obviously tournaments are not something that people play all the time. They are big moments and milestones in a player's career. And so when you go and participate in a tournament, you want that tournament to be a great experience. You want to have a fighting shot. You want to believe that you're in the right bracket, the right rating, and you're playing against people that are of similar, ability. So that's where DUPR does fit in. We'll come back to that. But what about on the club side of things? Lee, I know you're working with a lot of clubs on a more frequent basis. So, if I go to my club and I'm playing on a weekly basis or even a daily basis, I want to be able to meet up with people that are of like ability. How does DUPR help in the club world?
So, you just hit the nail on the head. One of the issues in clubs is there's a lot of ratings from pros. They've rated their players, or they've given them a club rating. They've done X, Y, and Z, which is not necessarily accurate to the playing ability. It's I look at DUPR a little bit like your golf handicap. It's yours. It's based on you and how you play. It's got nothing to do with how my opinion of your game, if I'm the director of pickleball or head pickleball pro, and what it's doing, because the nature of club pickleball and amateur pickleball is so transient. People like to go on vacations because of pickleball. And if you are 3.5 in Minnesota and you come to California, that 3.5 doesn't translate. It is not the same level. It could be higher, could be lower, depending on where you are. With DUPR, you know that your 357 rating is a 357 rating universally, and in the United States as well as globally, as we start to go more and more international. So it's really a unifying rating system that allows you to go from place to place and play at your level. And at the club level, a 3-5 round robin now can become a true 3-5 round robin with your DUPR ratings, and you can, within a 0.25 differential, where we found that's the most competitive play, we can cut it up. You can have a 3.5 to a 3.7 or 3.749 DUPR rating round robin, and the 40 people that sign up within that round robin are going to have great play for the next 2 hours. And from a club standpoint, member retention, improved play, and overall player experience and member experience, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. So, the range of a tournament goes from, it's a half point, right? So if you're a 4.0 to a 4.49, I should be playing in the 4.0 bracket is the way it should work. But if you're a 4.0 and I'm playing a 4.49, the probability of me winning, I believe, is somewhere between 70 and 80%, if other way around, 70, 80%, I will lose, right?
It's actually worse than that.
Worse than that. Okay.
You're less than a 10% chance of winning. So rough math. This is not perfect, but roughly for every 0.1 difference in your team DUPR versus the other team. So if you're a 4.1 playing a 4.0, you should win 50 plus 3% more. So you should win 53% of the points if you're 0.1 higher. If you're 0.5 higher, like in that example, roughly 0.5 higher, you should win 65% of the points. The chance of winning the game is well over 90% if you're winning 65. If your odds are winning 65% of the points,
right?
And it's in the 90s for sure. So even the 0.5 bracket, you can have matches where you're a less than 10% chance to win, even if those ratings were perfectly accurate but that's still the best you can do in a 0.5 bracket. You're still going to have matches that are going to be that big a disparity.
Right. And so to improve the tournament experience, are we going to get down to a smaller, window of rating, which we don't have now currently? DUPR obviously does this, right? And so if everyone universally adopted the DUPR rating and everybody participated in DUPR, we would be able to identify where you stood. So it could be almost a 4.25 to 4.55, bracket.
Absolutely. Yes.
And we would ultimately have a better experience because, the people who are just getting past the 4.0 level are not going to really have any chance against a close to 4.5.
That's right. So here's some evidence to this point about the challenge with the system as it is currently. We've looked at amateur tournaments across various providers, and we've looked at the results. And in matches where there are 2 out of 3 matches, the question is, how often does a match actually go to the third game? In other words, how often are the teams close enough where one team wins the first game and the other team wins the second game? If you had absolutely perfectly even teams, that would happen 50% of the time. Now, obviously, that's never going to be. You're never going to achieve that. But right now, less than 20% of the games on the amateur side go to a third game, meaning the team that wins the first game almost always wins the second game over 80% of the time. I think a more realistic goal for the sport should be that should be going to the third game 35 to 40% of the time. The fact that we're achieving less than 20 means that for the most part, it's not that competitive. So that's just a mathematical way to see what the challenges are. We believe we've done experiments with having DUPR tournaments with tighter ratings. And again, we get that 35 to 40%. So that's a sign of a really good match, that sometimes the team that won the first game doesn't win the second game. That's a sign that we're having much more competitive play.
Yeah. So Steve, you talked about your background in pickleball, of how you kind of came about in the sport. but your background is in finance. Are you a mathematician, a statistician? What's your numbers background here?
I'm not a PhD or anything like that. I'm not as geek. We have an amazing number of crunchers working at DUPR who have far more mathematical skill than me. I would say that historically I was a professional poker player. I understand odds, and in many ways that's what DUPR is. It's helping us predict what a match result is. And I think I've explained this to a few other folks. Like, people ask me, is it possible to win a match and go down in DUPR? And I'd say, yes, it is possible. Let's say you're a 5-0 playing a 4.5, and you're supposed to win 65% of the points. And you win a match, but you lost the first game 11-6, and you won the last two 11-9, 11-9. In DUPR, that's possible that you will actually go down because you underperformed relative to our prediction what percentage of the points you would win. That's to be helpful if I was trying to predict how good a player you are. So here's another way I've explained this a few times. Say player A plays Lee Whitwell in singles, and player A wins the first game 11-6, loses the last two 11-9, 11-9, and gets a loss. Player B plays Lee Whitwell, and Lee Whitwell beats player B 11-0, 11-0. If player A played player B, who would you predict would win?
Player A.
Player A. Okay, but under every other system in pickleball, as I know it right now, both of those would be coded as a loss. They would say that we got no additional information from the fact that the scores were different, and therefore every other rating system would say both of those players lost, both of their ratings went down. To me, that's throwing away valuable information. Sure. Nobody wouldn't if you had to bet on who would win between player A and player B, everybody rational would say player A is more likely to win. That we're using that information to help adjust player A and player B's rating. So
right. I think that's a great analogy, and it makes a lot of sense of why DUPR is kind of superior to where we are today, which kind of looks at it's ingesting the data, but it's not the smartest data, right? Or it's not all the data. It's a small data set.
We're trying to get as much information as we can out of results. And we're not throwing away information. So the first thing is we want as many match results as possible. We want a lot of match results. And then we want to use as much of the data from those match results as we can possibly use to make our rating as accurate as quickly as it possibly can be. And by the way, there is no such thing as a perfect rating. Perfection is never the goal. Our goal is always to just get better and more accurate over time. But there is no such thing as a perfect rating, and there's complications to doing it well.
So let me ask you. I'll go to Lee on this. How do I need to sign up for DUPR? I actually have a DUPR. I love DUPR. I use it all the time, and I find it. I go back to it all the time. I'm constantly looking at not only my rating, but people I play against or with to kind of analyze where I stand and where they stand in the world. What do I need to do? Do I need to input each of these scores? Maybe just talk about it, because I think people might have a little bit of a fear of, wow, I'm going to have to do a lot of work to keep my DUPR up, but it's actually not.
No, I mean, although I did check, and I'm still waiting for you to input our lunchtime match in there, score in there, because I never got that one to verify.
That was a non-sanctioned event without a referee, and I believe there might have been some officiating oversights.
Oh, okay.
I've not entered that one.
The Whitwell walkway was in effect.
That is correct.
No, I mean, there's several ways, right? If you're playing some matches with friends and you want them to count for DUPR, you can input them yourselves, and then one of your opponents has to verify that the score you entered is correct. It takes literally 10 seconds to do. At the club level, what a lot of clubs are doing is they are organizing round robins, paddle battles, up the river, down the river, you name it, and they are just recording scores, and then the club itself will input the scores. And tournaments, we have a way of aggregating all those scores, and they get inputted for you. So really, the self-posted scores are only the matches that that you're playing that you want them to count for DUPR, that you're organizing yourself. But, if your club is a DUPR club, those scores will get inputted for you. There are a couple of clubs that have DUPR courts where that if you play on that court, you have to submit your score into DUPR, and that is a self-posting score. And there are some club monitors that will monitor that. But the way to input the scores is very, very simple. We've tried to make it as painless as possible. And, and right now people are having success with it. There's a lot of ease of use to the app, and it's not so scary that people are shying away from it. Once they sign up and use it once or twice, it's their preconceived notions go away. So there's definitely, at the tournament level, club level, and personal level, there's 3 different ways to enter scores, and you can enter as many self-posted scores as you'd like, or as few, and your clubs will do the same, and the tournaments will do the same.
And the algorithm works in a way that it takes rec games at a lower, it measures them lower than if you're talking about a major tournament. Yes. Is that right?
Yeah. And also force multiplier, if you will. When you're playing at a major event, a refereed event, a sanctioned event, those could count more because in some sense they're giving us, also it's more important to you. We know everybody's giving their full effort, so it probably is an even more accurate. So that should count more. And we do that to make it more accurate for
and time matters as well, right? Time. Yep. So the most recent is measured at a heavier index than something that happened a year ago.
That's correct. We have something called basically a half-life that we've stolen from radiology, from radioactivity, where a match today, we have I think we're experimenting with different half-lives. The shorter the half-life, that means that a match today means a lot more than a match a few months ago. That would make our ratings really dynamic. That would make the ratings change very quickly based on match results, recent match results. We can make the half-life longer, and therefore the old results, it'll be more of a smoothing of how you've done over the last year. And we debate this. We don't. If the question is, let's say a player arrives on the scene, Anna Bright arrives on the scene, and she hasn't played a lot, and she has some good results. How quickly should Anna Bright be in the top 20, the top 10, whatever? It's a fair question, and there's no perfect answer. And we're not saying that we have it. We're trying to say, I think almost unique among sports is for the ability for people to change how good they are in pickleball quickly. I've seen people who are 3.5s become a 5.0 in 6 months. I mean, we've all seen that. Yeah, if we don't have enough data and the rating system isn't dynamic enough, you're not going to catch that. At the same time, I think at the pro level, sometimes we've seen players move from number 3 to like number 11 in DUPR in a matter of a couple of weeks. The part of that is because the pro players from 3 to 11 are very close. I mean, we're talking less than 0.1 difference between like all those. And then you have a couple bad results. And given how dynamic DUPR is right now, that can move you very quickly. And I think that's jarring to some people. We're debating this. We debate it all the time. What should a half-life be? Should a match from 6 months ago count half as much? Should it count as quarter as much? There's no perfect answer, and we're feeling our way to doing this as well as we can. I think for most people, we're doing a pretty darn good job, but we're humble enough to know that we have to always try and do better.
So I play a major tournament. Let's say I play an APP or a PPA event. I don't need to do anything. That gets ingested into the system. Correct. It knows if I won or lost, and it bounces me out accordingly. My score goes up, it goes down. Why are we seeing sandbagging as an issue in tournament play, particularly amongst amateurs, right? There is no sandbagging with pros. Pros are pros, but everything below that you have an issue with. It does, like, I know I see your logo everywhere with the PPA. Does the PPA use you guys to help seed their tournaments?
I think you'd have to ask them exactly what they're doing, to be honest. I don't have full transparency into how or if they're using DUPR to do with their seedings or their brackets or what have you. I don't have transparency into that, to be honest.
Okay. Have you ever run analysis to see if it lines up with what their seating looks like and what the DUPR seating looks like?
You're trying to stir the pot. I see what you're doing here. I'm trying to be positive and joyful, and you're trying to stir the pot. I get what you're trying to go for.
Well, what I'm getting at is that I don't think they are. That's my guess.
What I will say is, what we've noticed in PPA events, but also other tournaments. This is not just true of tournaments that they've run. If you have a 4-0 bracket, which is supposed to be, as your point, between 4-0 and 4.499, the average winning team on DUPR in amateur tournaments for 4-0 brackets has had a DUPR of 4.9.
4.9. Yeah. And so that would kick people into different brackets. We would see much fair play, better experience for the players. But we don't have that mass adaptation just yet. Yeah. But hopefully it's coming, right? I mean, even DUPR is getting better every day, right? Because the more information that comes in, the more connectivity, the more people play against other people. It helps my score. It helps the experience.
Exactly. Yeah, and there are questions that we've had about men versus women and senior men versus these are difficult ones. That one especially. So if you look at our DUPR ratings. If you look at Lucy Kovalova, Dane Gingerich, and Wyatt Stone, they're almost exactly the same. And everybody's got an opinion about which one of those three players is the best.
Yeah.
But so we can show you the data of how we got there. So, Lucy has, they're all about 5.7 to 5.8. I forget exactly where they are. I should know. I shouldn't talk about that. But wherever they are, Lucy has on average a higher rated partner because she often plays with Matt Wright, who's very high rated. So her partner rating is high, and she also plays very tough opponents. They play, their average opponent is a 5.6 DUPR, and she wins 53% of her points. And you do a function of how good is your partner, how talented are your opponents, and what percentage of points do you win is how we get to the rating. Dane Gingrich wins a higher percentage of points, but he often plays in the senior draws, which are a little bit weaker. His average opponent is 5.2, and he's winning 65% of the points. Now, which one of those is better? To be honest, in some sense, a humble answer is we don't know, because we don't see enough matches where two males at the highest level play two females, and we don't have great what we call connectivity there. So we're humble enough to say, like, we don't know that that's right. We could use more data of top males playing top females or roughly the same DUPR. That would help us know that. Without that data, it is difficult for us to know whether that's right or not.
So let's get a little nerdy about ratings and math and talk about, can you tell me a little bit more about, like, what is the Breyer score to measure the standard deviation of a rating that you expect, particularly in a tournament play? Yeah.
So, well, I'm not going to go that geeky. I'm going to wind it back a little bit. But let's just say this: if you're a 4.5 on DUPR and your partners on average are 4.5s, and you're playing other teams which are average 4.5s, if your average 0.1 is not 50%, there's something that's what we would predict. If you're a 4.5, you're playing with a 4.5 partner, you're playing against 4.5 teams, you should win 50% of your points. If you're winning more than that, if you're winning 55% of your points or 56% of your points, let's say, we would say that indicates that you're actually 0.2 better than that, because every 0.3 is about 0.1 in our rating. So for every 3% of win percentage is about 0.1 in our rating. So that would say that your rating should be going up. So if you look at your DUPR profile, you'll see what your rating is. We can do some math for you that tells you what the average DUPR quality of your partners and opponents are, and we'll tell you the win percentage of points that you've had. And it'll probably make relatively close sense. You would probably say, okay, I get it. I'm a 4.2. My average partner is a 4.4, and we've been playing 4.5 teams. So but we've been winning 48% of the points. That's actually a little bit better than DUPR says I should be moving up. Okay, that's the logic, more or less. And for any player that wants to that engages with DUPR, and we have great customer service, we literally will take calls from an individual player, say, I think my DUPR is wrong. Sometimes we have data errors. Or people have similar names, and we might have grabbed a name of a result of someone with a similar name to you, and it wasn't yours. Obviously, we don't want to do that, but that it happens. And we will literally, if a person calls us, we will go through and say, here's why we think this is right. This is what your average partner has been, your average opponent has been. Here's how much percentage of points you've won, and hopefully, we will try to make it make sense. If we can't do that, or if we have an error, we'll try and fix it. And we will have errors. We won't always be. That there will be individual players that that we're not doing right. So that's how it works, more or less. And we're trying to be as responsive as we possibly can be to anyone who thinks their rating is incorrect.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think from what I've seen and seeing how tournaments are run, using DUPR would really make a lot of sense. It would make the experience better. Because what's out there now, quite honestly, when I look at my WPR score, my UTPR score, they're not reflective of the player I am today. And DUPR changes every single day, because it's not even that I play every day. It's the people that I played against play every day. And it's continuing to, to make decisions based on those results.
That's right.
That's really interesting. So, we're trying, you're trying to make the tournament experience, the pickleball experience in general, a better one, a more fair, level playing field. Talk about compass draws. We were talking about this earlier, and I found it really fascinating. You have a kind of new way to, instead of the traditional brackets, which oftentimes I get called to a tournament at 8 a.m. and I might play my first match at 9. I might not play for 3 hours, and then I play 2 in a row, and then I wait another, actually I've never won that much, so I never had to wait that long. But you have a new idea here with compass draws. Can you talk a little bit about that and why that's a better experience for tournaments?
Lee, you want to go? I probably been hogging the mic a little bit.
No, it's up to you. I mean, honestly, it's, if you think about it right now, like you just said, right, we don't know. You have a start time, and if your first match on, you get an 8 a.m. start. If not, if things get delayed, you don't know when you're going to play, and you don't know how long you're going to be there. And if you're chewing out, it's kind of a horrible experience for people. So what we're suggesting is something different, is, 16 teams in a compass draw, which means we're guaranteeing every player 4 matches, no matter what, and with a guaranteed start time and a guaranteed end time. So you can do multiple brackets in a day if you wanted to. People could play in the morning session, they could play in the afternoon session, and if you wanted to, if you wanted to add an evening session, you could even add that. And they can play as much or as little as they actually want to, but we're guaranteeing 4 matches per person, which is way more than people are playing right now. I think, Steve, you had the numbers. How many people are...
Yeah, a compass draw means 16 teams are in the draw. You play your first match. If you win, you play one of the other 7 teams that won. If you win, you play one of the other 3 other teams that won. And if you win, you play for the championship, and vice versa. Even if you lose 3 matches, you get to play another match. Everybody gets the experience of playing 4 matches. You show up at 8 a.m. You're going to play 4 matches. You're going to be done at noon. If you win all 4, you win the gold medal. By the way, if that's not enough pickleball for you, there's another tournament that starts at noon. And you can play with the same partner, or you can play with a different partner. But we'll match you in a group of 16 with the closest DUPRs to you, and you can play another tournament. You can play, and you can do one at 8 o'clock, you can do one at noon, you can do it at 4 p.m. Imagine going to a 3-day pickleball event, and you get to play in 9 different draws, maybe with 9 different partners. I think that would just be a more fun experience, and the matches are going to be closer because you're using DUPR. You're not going to have this. I traveled all this way. I got beat 11-1, 11-2, and 11-3, 11-4, and I'm out, and I got nothing else to do all day. You're not going to have that experience, and that's going to really make, I think, the play experience better for amateurs if we can combine DUPR with some new ways of doing tournament formats. I think that would be a massively better experience for players. Another thing is people are busy. Sometimes you can't commit to a partner that I have an event at 3 p.m. I can't play in this tournament with you. Now I can say I can play in the 8 a.m. event with you, or I can play in the 4 p.m. event with you. And I think it actually will help tournament directors get more play, because now I can play. I know I can segment a certain period of time to be able to know how much pickleball I'm signing up for.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the tournament experience that is a negative to the player experience. And compass play certainly would make things tighter, and particularly if you're winning, a lot more fun. There's something really interesting there, and I hadn't ever gotten too deep a dive into it before we spoke earlier, but I really like it. And I think particularly when you have something like a DUPR score that level the playing field, and you know that you're playing against people that are going to be very close to your ability, it becomes really intense. Those are going to be 4 matches that are going to be really tight. There are going to be no walkovers, no easy ones, and you shouldn't be blown out at any of them. So even if you end up 0-4, you should be fighting for your life in each one of those games. It might just be you had an off day, but it's not really reflective of you're not belonging there, or someone else having sandbagged in.
Even if you go 0-4, the next tournament starts again. Yeah, people say, well, I'll miss double elimination. If I have one bad match, the double elimination is you get the next tournament. So you can have 9 tournaments on a weekend. Even if you go 0-4 in one, doesn't mean you can't win the next one.
Right.
And not only that, we sent out a survey a while ago asking people what they wanted when our tournament's broken, and they said yes. And one of the biggest eye-opening answer for us was they want more level play. That is the big people, like, they want to play more, but they want more level play. They don't want to sandbag, and they don't want to play sandbaggers. So this is our answer to getting you A, more matches, and B, more DUPR neutral level matches.
But by the way, I Lee's a little bit harsher than me. I'm harsh sometimes, but Lee's almost always harsher than me, I should say. I really don't like the word sandbagger. Like, Jason, the fact that you're still 3.5, and if you play in that, I'm not accusing you of a moral flaw. I'm just saying you're not in the right place. Right. And that's not good for you or for your opponents. It's not good for anybody. I shy away from the sandbagger word. I don't, because I think it implies that I'm accusing people of having bad character. I'm not. I understand,
but the system's not quick enough to accommodate my improvement. Yes. Let me put it that way.
My point is, it doesn't make you a bad person.
No,
that's
there are definitely
person, no. But other things might make me a bad person.
That's obviously true.
And I think you hit the nail on the head. There are a few people who like to win to tout their winning, but for the most part, unfortunately, right now, it doesn't keep up with improvement of play. So if you are a 3.5, 6 months from now, you are still a 3.5, and that is a problem, because you might be a 4.5, and that is not, and then people will accuse you of sandbagging because you are playing a 3.5, even though you're not intentionally. That's the only thing you can sign up for.
Yeah.
But I have to tell the story. I have the exact opposite problem. I used to be pretty good at pickleball, and I haven't played as much this year because I've been too busy. So I'm clearly getting worse. But a few years ago, I played with an amazing player, Daria Kleitch, here in Austin, and we won like a really nice 5-0 open tournament. So in mixed, I'm a 5-0 still, and I'm terrible now. I can barely hit the ball over the freaking net. I can never play mixed again because no female 5-0 will ever play with me. So I'm basically locked out of any tournament, and I can't in sanction. So that I have the exact. So I laugh. I think on DUPR, if you looked at everybody's profile, I have the lowest win percentage of any player on DUPR, because people still think that I'm a decent player, and I'm so terrible now that I'm getting invited to games with people who are better than me, and I just get crushed. And so,
what's your DUPR score?
It's a 4.2, 4.19, okay. But I'm rounding up.
We're basically even. We could play.
And I deserve to be lower than I was, and DUPR is appropriately punishing me. So I think it's about right.
Got it. Well, what can people do to help make DUPR a more universal, universally adopted rating system? Can they go download the app, participate, register?
Download the app, put your match results in, even your casual results. in about 5 or 6 matches, your rating will be pretty close. It'll be relatively accurate. Encourage your club or your league to talk to DUPR. We'll give you the APIs to allow you to upload your information right into DUPR and do it very easily and quickly. Encourage tournament organizers to think about using DUPR more for organizing the level of play, and to think about different ways of doing draws, like compass draws that will make the tournament experience better. Encourage people to think about these things, and keep us on our toes. We don't claim perfection. That is far from our claim. We're claiming that we're trying to do something that's better, that will make the sport grow, that will make the sport more fun for more people. When we get something wrong, hopefully politely tell us what we're doing wrong. But even if it's impolitely, tell us what we're doing wrong. We want to know.
Right. And just for the record, the website is mydupr.com.
Mydupr.com. Yep.
Yes.
Yep, that's right.
And if you're a club, you can go there and you can find everything you need to bring.
Yeah, you'll contact our team, and it'll either be Tito Machado or Anna Bright or
Cesar,
and we just added Nick. We have I think 4 now account executives who are help you navigate how to use our system easily, and how we can help you create hopefully more fun experiences. And I think I would love if I could encourage the kitchen to have a future kitchen conversation with some of our clubs who are already adopting DUPR and loving it. I would encourage you to have those conversations, and more than from me, getting it from a person who's actually experienced how we're changing play, how we're making it better experience for people. And we could obviously point you to some people that would tell you about that experience.
Yeah, no, well, I appreciate it. Both of you guys. I really appreciate, one, not only your time here, but what you guys are doing for the sport, because I do agree that having looked at a number of different rating systems and where personally I stand, you guys are clearly, I mean, it's not even a competition of how the accuracy works. And you guys are seemingly, quicker and faster than my play, which I appreciate, because standing around for a year waiting for my rating to change seems a bit archaic.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you, Jason. That's
thank
very kind
very
of you.
much.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, guys, thanks for the time. I really appreciate it. I think this was, illuminating in terms of why DUPR matters, how tournaments can be better. And I like the idea of compass play. I can't wait to hear the debate about it and, get to experience it myself. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank
Jason.
you so much. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys.